Hello, welcome to this episode of Sitecore in 300 Seconds Plus. My name is Auzani Rizwan and I work as the lead sales engineer at Sitecore in Southeast Asia. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through the Sitecore Content Hub CMP or Content Marketing Platform. So you're going to see a demonstration of the capabilities of the system in depth and hopefully you'll get a sense of the benefits that it can bring to your business. Let's start with a visual overview of our demonstration for today. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through these 5 different demonstrations. So we'll start with the planning capabilities of the Content Hub, where we'll look at how we create content either from a backlog or based on a strategy board, or how we can also use a content calendar to create an item. We'll then look at the create activities. So how we select the content to be created, how we use the editing tool, and how we submit it into the content approval workflow. Third, we'll look at the collaboration features. So this is where a content manager can review an article, where they can then provide feedback and reject it through the workflow approval, and where the content author can make the necessary changes, and the content manager can then make version comparisons before they approve the content. Fourth, we'll look at the publishing capability, so how we use the built-in connectors to publish our content to our CMS, whereby a website administrator can then use that content to create a web page article, and then how we can also customize the analytics reporting available in the CMP. Finally, we'll look at how we would integrate our CMP with a cloud function where we define the action and define the trigger, and then how we utilize those integration connections to then publish that content to our Twitter account. Okay, so let's get started with our first demo. So in the first demo, we'll look at the planning capability. The focus here is around the campaign owner who's responsible to select which content to create. So we'll look at how she can create content by selecting a content item from the ideas backlog. Secondly, we'll look at how she can also create content from the strategy board. So to assign content based on the content type and different audiences. And then thirdly, we'll look at how we create content using a calendar, so where we can schedule the content creation. So to start with, a campaign owner can create content from the ideas backlog. This is accessible from the content drop-down list and going to the ideas page. This ideas page basically displays a list of all the different content ideas that has been submitted but has not been selected yet to be put into production. So as a campaign owner, what a campaign owner can do is they can review the different content items, and to put a content item into production, they can select the content item and click on the submit button for approval. So from here, the content is in the idea stage, and if the idea is accepted to be created, they can then click on the approve button. So now the content item has been removed from the ideas list, and it will now be available for the content authors to create. Secondly, a campaign owner can also create content based on the strategy page. The strategy page is accessible from the content drop-down list and going to the strategy page. What this page displays is a matrix of the different content types, as you can see on the rows, and on the columns is the different audiences that these content will be targeted for. In this demo, we want to create a new article targeted for the variety seekers audience. To do so, we can filter the content type by clicking on the content type filter and selecting the article facet. This now only displays all the articles for all the different audience targets that we have. So we'll go to the variety seekers audience column, scroll down, and click on the plus button down here to create a new article. This opens our new content dialog, and we can start filling in the details for this new content article. So I'll provide a name, and I can choose the content type by clicking on the add button, and I will choose an article. And as you can see, the variety seekers option has already been pre-selected. I can then choose the region by clicking on the add button here, and I will choose worldwide. We can then click on save to create this new article. And as you can see here, the new article that we created is now available in the variety seekers audience category. Lastly, we can also create content based on the calendar. This is accessible from the content and the calendar page. The calendar page displays a calendar where we can see the current month and all the different dates. And right now we can see all the different content items that are scheduled for publication on different dates. To create a new content, we can click on the plus content button on the top right hand side here. And this opens our content creation dialog. So from here we can provide a content title. We can choose the campaign for this particular content. So I'll choose the Get Fit Social Media Challenge. We can choose the locale for this content. So I will type in English as the locale. We can choose the content type, and I will choose an article. And we can choose the publication date by clicking on the calendar, and I will schedule this for the 16th of June. So from here we can click on the save button to create this content. And as you can see down here, the content that we created is now scheduled inside the calendar view. So you saw just now how we were able to review the content items from an ideas backlog and choose a content item to be created. We were also able to create the content items using the strategy view, and we can also use the calendar to schedule when to produce a content item. So the key benefits here is that it empowers the marketers to easily plan, manage, and execute campaigns of different scopes. It also allows the content owners to create content at the right time to the right channels and the right audience. And it ensures that the content creation is effectively aligned with the strategic channels and audience goals. Next, we'll look at how we use the create capabilities in the CMP to create content. So this focuses on the different content authors, where we'll go through the workboard where we can see a list of content items, and we'll choose a content item to create. We'll then go into the content authoring environment where we can then add all the different details without worrying about formatting information, and then how we can submit the content into the content approval workflows. So let's get started. So as a content author, I can then view all the tasks that I need to work on in the work page. This is accessible from the content drop-down list and going to the work page. The work page provides a centralized view where I can view the status of all the different content items that has been assigned to me. So in this demo, we want to focus on creating an article or continuing our work on an article. So we will work on this Will Coffee Help Sleep Loss article. To start working on it, we will click on the article. This then brings us into the editing environment. So to begin editing this content item, I can then click on the edit button. And from here, I can select the different content elements. So for example, I can select the title and fill that in. I can also then select the introduction section and provide the content there. And I can then select the content section and provide the editing. And from here, I want to provide some minor editing features. So I want to highlight these subtitles. And the editing toolbar provides those basic editing functions there. And finally, I can select the additional content section and provide the information necessary there as well. So once I've done the editing, I can then click on the Save button to save the changes that I've made. So we can view the status of the content through the workflow by clicking on the information icon on the content status. As we can see here, the content is currently in the in progress state. So to move it through the workflow, I can then click on the send for review button. And if we open the state icon again, we can now see that the content has moved from the in progress state to the in review state. So you saw how we were able to use the create capabilities to select the content from our workboard, and from there we use the editor to add all the necessary information to the content, and then finally how we submitted the content into the content approval workflow. So the key benefits here is that it provides a personalized view and quick access to all the content authors' tasks. It also allows the content authors to prioritize which tasks to be executed first based on the status and also the story points. And the editing environment provides a structured way to create content without having to worry about presentation details. Next, we'll look at the third demo, which is the collaboration feature. So this focuses on how the content manager and the content author can work together to review and make changes to the content. So we'll look at how a content manager can review an existing article, how they can provide comments and annotation, and how they will then reject the content to regress it through the content workflow. We'll then look at the collaboration tools whereby a content author can review the feedback that has been provided by the content manager and how they make the required changes and save that as a different version and then resubmit that into the content approval workflow. And finally, we'll look at how the manager can then make the version comparisons between the changes that were required before they approve it for publication. So as a content manager, we can then review content that are in the review state, and to provide comments and feedback, we can click on the edit button. Once we are in the editing mode, we can then highlight sections of the content where we want to provide feedback or comments. So here I'm going to select this content section, and I can then click on the comment button from the editing toolbar. This highlights the content section, and it also opens a commenting window where we can then provide the necessary comments. We can then click on the tick button to save those comments. So once we've done, we can then save the changes that we've made, and to regress it through the workflow, we can then click on the reject button. And now if we open the workflow status, we will see that the content is now regressed back into the in progress state. So as a content author, I can then review the feedback given by the content manager by clicking on the edit button. And from here, I can see the section of content that has been highlighted and has been commented. And from here, I can click on the content area and make the required changes. So here I will provide the citation that has been requested by the content manager. The content author can also click on the comment and provide a response to the content manager. And I can then click on the tick button to save my responses. So from here, a content author can then click on the save as new version to save the changes that has been made as a new version of the content. And finally, we can then resubmit the content into the workflow by clicking on the send for review button. Finally, as a content manager, I can then review the changes that has been made by clicking on the 3 ellipses button and selecting the version history option. And from here, I can select the different versions and click on the compare selected versions. This displays both versions of the article side by side, and I can click on the diff toggle where it will highlight what the changes are between these two versions. So you've seen in the demo just now in our collaborate capabilities, where as a content manager, we were able to review an article and we were able to provide feedback and comments and reject the article to regress it through the workflow. And then finally, a content author was able to make the necessary changes, save it as a new version, and the content manager was then able to make those version comparisons. So the key benefits here is that it provides a way that where we can track the status of content items in the production workflow. It also provides flexible tools to provide feedback and review between the content managers and the content authors. And having it as a centralized system gives visibility of all the conversations and notes. And again, the version tools allows us to easily compare and manage the content history. Next, we'll look at the publishing capabilities of the Sitecore Content Hub CMP. So we'll look at how we approve and publish content directly to our CMS system. And this allows a website owner to create a web page from the content. We'll also look at how the content managers can customize the reporting of the content in the CMP as well. So as a content manager, once a content is in the review stage, you can then click on the approve button to then publish the content. So as you can see here, the message says that this will send it to our connector. So out of the box, we have a connector to our Sitecore Experience Platform CMS. And this allows this content to be pushed directly to the CMS system. And we are now in the editing environment. And on the left hand side here, you can see all the different website pages. And we have configured the system such that the content items or articles will appear underneath the article section on our website. So what I can do is I can refresh this page. And as you can see here, the new content that we created in the CMP is now available on our CMS. So from here, I can select the web page. As you can see here, all the content items has been synchronized to our CMS. So from here, we can do the editing. So I'm going to select the hero banner and click on the change button. So I can now select the image to use on the web page from the Content Hub. So here we can select an image. And the Content Hub allows us to do image editing as well. So we can click on the edit icon. And this allows us to choose, for example, different aspect ratios. And we can use the smart cropping feature. And we can also make the necessary resizes. So once that is done, we can then select the image. And we can add the selected image into our web page. Next, we'll look at the reporting capabilities. So as a content manager, we can view the different content reports. This is accessible from the reporting drop-down list. As you can see here, we can show different types of charts and reports. So here we are focused on the content reports. And on the left-hand side here, we have a report for different content per content type, which we can then also filter using these drop-down facets. So what we want to do is we want to change this report from a bar chart into a pie chart. So to do so, we need to go into the administration page, which is accessible from this gear icon. And from here, we can filter the list and look for pages. So once we are in the pages, we can access the reporting page. And from here, we can access the tabs. And from the tabs, this allows us to then select the content section. So as we can see, this content section has two columns, and on the left hand side, we have the content per content type reporting chart, which we want to edit. So we can click on the three ellipses button and click on the edit option. This allows us to then edit the chart for this report, where we can select the output tab. And currently we can see the chart is a bar chart. So to change the chart type, we can click on the chart settings. And from the chart type property drop down, we can then change this to a pie chart. So from here, we can click on save. And when we go back to the reporting page, we can then refresh this page. And as you can see now, the reporting is showing a pie chart. So that was a brief in terms of how we saw the publishing feature, where we saw how we publish a content item to our CMS, and we use that content to create a web page, and we also edited images and assets to the web page from the Content Hub. We were also able to view the analytics reports on the content and also to customize the reporting chart by changing the chart type as well. So the key benefits here is that it provides a streamlined review, approval, and publication process. And with the analytics and reporting tools, it allows us to understand what content is working and what isn't. And this allows us to increase the ROI by reusing or modeling new content from existing successful content. All right, we're finally at the end of our demo. So now we'll illustrate to you how we do the integration capabilities of the Sitecore CMP. So these are for other digital channel owners, for example, social media. And what we'll demonstrate is that we will show you how we can configure an action that will connect the CMP to a cloud program. And that cloud program will be responsible to post our content to our Twitter account. So we will then show you how we then configure a trigger that will be used to connect workflow of our content to the action. And then we'll illustrate how we then publish the content using the actions and triggers that we've configured to post content to our Twitter feed. So in our case, we want to create a new action. So we click on the new action button. So we will provide a name for our demo, for our action. And based on what the IT department has provided, we will fill in the details. Once we filled in those details, we can validate that the values are correct by clicking on the test connection button. And here it then displays a message that the connection is successful. So the details are correct, and we can click on save to create this action. In our demo, we want to create a new trigger to link it to our content workflow. To do so, we click on the new trigger button. This opens our trigger page where we can edit the details. So we will fill in those details here. Next, we need to set the conditions when this trigger will be activated. So to do so, we can click on the add definition, and we only want to run this trigger for content types. So we can choose content. We can then click on the plus condition button to set the conditions when we want this trigger to be activated. So the first condition is that I want to make sure that this only runs for Twitter posts. Choose the content type and make sure that the value equals to Twitter post. So I select the Twitter post option and click on OK. The next condition, so I can click on the plus condition button, is I want to make sure that the post is in the final state and that the current value equals to the final status. So I click on the final and click on OK. Then the final step is to click on the Actions tab and to link this condition to the action that we want to execute. I can then link it to the action that we created earlier. So from here, I can then save the changes. So to make the Twitter post, I can click on the edit button and I can then select the tweet and then provide the tweet text. So I can save the Twitter post. I will then click on the send for review button. And from here, I can then click on the approve button. And this will send it through the actions and triggers that we have configured earlier. So I'll now click on the confirm button to publish the Twitter post. So once we've published our content and that it has fully executed the program, we can see that our new content has been posted to our account. So finally, you've seen how we use the integration capabilities where we defined an action to connect to our cloud program, and how we defined a trigger to link the action to a workflow state, and finally how we then used those integrations to publish a content to our Twitter account. So the key benefit here is that it provides integration flexibility to publish to other channels, and it means that we can extend the functionality of the systems with new capabilities. And again, the system is designed for highly scalable API interactions. In summary, there are many benefits of the Sitecore CMP to your business. First of all, from the plan capabilities, as you can see, it provides a clear view on all the scheduled content based on the channel, audience, and purpose. With the create capabilities, we can eliminate duplication of work with channel independent formats. The collaboration tools provide checks and balances with content approval workflows. The publishing capabilities gives you a speed to market with pre-built connectors. And finally, the integration capabilities provide flexibility to integrate with third-party systems. Thank you for watching this episode of Sitecore in 300 seconds plus. If you have any questions or if you want to chat, feel free to contact me in the contact details listed above. See you next time in the next episode.